So, welcome everybody. I am so glad you're here. This is the Compassionate Eating course, and this is class number 1. There are 4 parts to today's class. And today I want to talk about the intention of our work together. I'd like to set the framework around our work, meaning group agreements, support that's here for you. And I'd like to get to know everybody, brief introductions, and I'd like to dive into our first piece of curriculum, and all of this in an hour. So let's jump right into intention. So my desire for you is that this 3-week process, it actually ends up being a little more into the 4 weeks, but this process will invite you into a deeper, more authentic, kind, caring, connected, what I think of as a juicy relationship with your food and body. And I know for an absolute fact that all of the women in this group are incredibly smart and capable. And I also happen to know that you've all tried a lot of things to feel good in your body and feel good in your relationship with food. And I want to be really upfront with you right now, which is that I'm not going to tell you what to eat. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I want to support you to work from your own deep knowing. I want to support you in finding your current working definition of compassion. And I want to help you unpack the obstacles that keep you from treating yourself the way you know you deserve. So there are 2 interwoven themes that we're going to focus on in the next few weeks. One is what's keeping you from eating in the way that you know most supports you, right? Basically, what's in the gap between what you know would be the best thing for you and what you actually do, right? So what's in that? What's the obstacle there? Okay. And we're going to start diving right into that today. And it's an important gap. I call this like the pit of despair or the pit of shame. Serene calls it the big ball of nastiness, right? That lives right in that place between what do we know and what do we do? And it's an important gap to look at because it's where we want to bring our healing attention. And I want to say that again, it's where we want to bring our healing attention, because often what we do when we get into this pit of shame or a pit of like, what's the matter with me? Why can't I do this? We end up putting our attention out there to the newest, latest, greatest diet, or out there at the new kind of shame and blame, right? So we're putting our attention right here in that big ball of nastiness, that pit of despair, that pit of shame, because that's where we want the healing to happen. The healing does not happen in the newest detox. And the other theme, right? So I said there's 2 themes that we're always working with during the next few weeks. The other theme is, what exactly does compassionate eating mean to you specifically? And what does it look like in your everyday life? And we're going to really weave those 2 together. And the other thing I want you to know, this is not a one-size-fits-all program, right? This isn't like capital the perfect answer, right? What's happening here is not a download of information type thing. It's not like, okay, I'm going to go through this program and do exactly just what Nina says, and then magically all my unwanted eating behavior and inner criticism is going to disappear. It's just doesn't work that way. Right? This is a process. It's a way of healing old wounding. It's a way of changing unhelpful thought patterns. Fundamentally, it's a process of tending to ourselves. It's a process of caring, right? So I'm going to ask you to show up, right? Don't blow this off for later. Don't say, I'll catch up in a few weeks, right? I'm so behind, I'll just catch up later. Don't wait to do this perfectly. It's just not going to happen. Please show up with your humanity, with your I can't make it, with I need to listen to the recording, with I didn't do anything and now I'm just going to show up. Please show up imperfectly. There is no perfect here. Show up as much as you can live. And if that's not possible, schedule a time to listen, right? And if that's not possible, just show up whatever way you can. There's no getting this right. So I want to invite you into your process. I'm here 100% and I want you to step in fully. Okay. And I've structured the course so there's a lot of different ways for you to get support. One is the second call of each week, right? And I've gotten a few questions about that already. I called it a coaching call. I often call it an integration call. I like integration actually better than coaching call because it's a time for us to integrate what came up. This work is going to bring up all sorts of fun stuff. So I see Serene laughing already. Some of you have done, like been in there. You're like, oh yeah, right. This is just, it's a process and it's a juicy process, right? So the integration call, the second call, the coaching call is a time where it's all about what's coming up for you. The first call of the week, I have curriculum. There's a place I want to guide you through in this process. The second is we're going to just come, I'm going to show up and just what's here. What are you noticing? What's coming up? And let's explore that. So it's the time for us to explore what's going on for you. Okay. So that's one support that's here for you. So there's curriculum calls, there's integration calls, then there's Facebook. If you're not in the Facebook group yet, please jump in. The link is on all the emails that I've sent you. Message me. And if you can't find it, just message me if you're on Facebook and I'll connect you through there. And another support. And if you're not a Facebook person, no worries. Like you can get everything there is here without Facebook. Another support are the emails. So I'm going to send you a short email almost every morning. Just open it, have a look. It will support you and keep you focused on this journey that you're on, right? Even if you don't read the whole email, just open it. Just that act of opening it and looking at it reminds you, oh yes, I'm on this journey. I'm doing this thing for myself, right? I'm engaged. One more support I have, if you want it, is individual coaching. I know a lot of you have already chosen to get individual coaching sessions with me, and that's absolutely brilliant. You should have received already an email from me saying, here's the link to schedule. If you haven't done that, please schedule. If you didn't get the email because it ended up in spam or promotions, let me know and then we'll schedule. If you didn't choose the support of extra sessions and you still want to, let me know and we can make that happen. So there's a lot of support for you here, and we tend to, as smart, capable women, to run the I got this tape. Please don't. Just don't, right? Here you don't have to got it. You don't have to go alone, right? We have an incredible group of just amazing women, right? Many of you have navigated this journey to food and body peace. You've been on this journey, right? There's so much to learn from women who have already been on this path, right? There's a lot to learn from each of us. So let yourself be a part of the group and assimilate what feels right for you. And I know some of us are like, I'm not a group person. I'm not a Facebook person. Just jump in the way that works for you, right? There's not a right way to do this. If you're not I don't want to share out loud, put it in the chat. If you're not a chat person, say it out loud. There is not a right way to engage. My invitation is that the doors are open, come on in. And when you watch yourself go like, oh, my experience isn't like anybody else's, walk in anyway. Say it because somebody else will resonate. It's a gift. Okay, part 2, guidelines. So these are guidelines to help us create an environment that feels like somewhere where we can do this work. So the first thing is confidentiality. And my request is that we don't talk about what we hear here. And that includes, I was on this group and this one woman said, blah, 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 blah. So if you're talking about the group, you're going, I felt my experience, right? So you're not bringing other people's stories out into the world without permission. So my question, if you could raise your hand, can you agree to confidentiality? All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Great. Okay. The other guideline that I want to invite us into is no fixing or advice giving. This is one of the hardest things for women to do because we want to help. We're just we're built that way. We've got big hearts. We want to support somebody else. So we often say, well, this is what works for me. And I've done this thing. This isn't the place for that. That's what's called the righting reflex. Oh, your ship is a little off kilter. Let me help you right it. We need to explore what's going on with our ship. And when someone tries to right it, it doesn't allow us to be in what's going on with our ship. Right? We feel like, oh gosh, somebody did it right. So maybe I should do that. Or they're better because they figured out. A lot of comparison comes up. So when we're sharing from our experience, not to change or fix another. Okay, so we want to honor each other's wisdom and journey by not telling someone else what to do. And that doesn't mean that when someone posts on Facebook, we can't say, oh my gosh, I totally hear you. I've had that experience. Like, absolutely, we want to join, we want to resonate, we want to support, but we don't want to get in there to fix. Third guideline, let's be learners. Let's just allow ourselves to be learners, right? And it's kind of vulnerable because we're learning in public, okay? And it's vulnerable, it's being real, it's not having it right? It's okay not to know. It's okay to say, I'm not sure. Like, this feels really new, or this shakes the way I've been raised, or, this shakes my beliefs. So let's be open to the complexity that being a learner is, right? This relationship with our food and body is complex. There are layers and layers, right? Some of you here are going through this process again because it is so layered and complex. Each time something else surfaces. And here's another big request I have around guidelines. Let's create a weight neutral environment for ourselves. I'm going to say that again because it might be new language. Weight neutral environment. So in our current culture, we are bombarded by diet talk, right? We are bombarded by diet talk. So my request is that we refrain from talking about diets, weight loss, weight goals, body comparison, and our own body bashing. I know this is a big stretch because it's often the way women relate to each other around their relationship to food and body. And so the request, I'm just going to say it again because it's a lot to unpack, is that we're not talking about our diets, our weight loss, our weight goals, our body comparison, and our own body bashing, right? So I know weight is a big issue for many of us in our relationship with food and body, but let's widen the lens to include more than our weight. Let's talk about the relationship that we have with our bodies. Okay? So we're not talking about the weight. We're not talking about the diet. We're talking about how we feel in our bodies. We're talking about the relationship we have with our body, the relationship we have with our foods. Okay? So if there are other So I just want to pause for a minute. How is all this landing? And if there are other guidelines that would support you, let me know. And if, yeah, let me know. And I see from Judy, since you're recording this, where will these sessions be shown? There will be two, thank you for that question. There will be two places where you can always find the replay. One will be a specific file on Facebook. And if you're on Facebook already, you'll see it's under the files tab in our page. And it has our link where we always meet. It has the dates, and it will always have a link to the replay. For those of you who are not on Facebook, I will have a second page that is where all your links can be found. It will be a password protected page on my site. It is not Googleable. And those will be the two places you can always find replays. And my intention is to have the replay posted by the evening of the class. So even if I haven't sent out an email that says your replay is here, because I'm trying not to send more than one email to you a day, because I know it's a lot of emails in general. You can always look on Facebook under files or at this replay page that I will send out tomorrow morning. There was something else that came up about that, but it'll come. All right. Anything else? Judy, so anyone who is on your Facebook page has access to these sessions? No. So Judy, we have a private group just for the compassionate eating, and it's in that group that recording will be housed. So thank you again for asking that. And I only allow people in that group who are in that Facebook group who are in this actual group in the compassionate eating. So structure of the program, any other questions? Keep them coming. So structure of the program, we have 2 classes a week. There's actually an additional 2, but I'll tell you about those in a moment. So one is the curriculum class, that's today. It's me sharing this process with you. And the other is the integration class, where there's coaching and questions. Again, time to integrate what we're exploring and get more individualized support. And even if you don't have questions or just don't know like what to ask, show up for those integration classes. They are so juicy. We get into other topics, and sometimes we hear somebody else say something that's like, oh, those are the words that I didn't even have the words for that experience.
Hey,
those are the words. If somebody who has a dog could mute themselves, that would be awesome. Okay, so now I would love to go around introductions. And what's going to happen, you're going to see us do one round of introductions. And for those of you who aren't here today and show up live whenever, I'll ask you to introduce yourself then. So my request is your name, where you're from, and we're going to dive into curriculum right away. What is one word that you would use to describe compassion? Okay, name, where you're from, and one word you would use to describe compassion. So, and we will have more time to unpack and get into knowing each other and our stories, but I do want to have time, because I'm sort of front loading with a lot of info. I want to have time to jump into curriculum. So how about I am going to do this. I'm going to call on people just as they show up. And let's do it that way. So Serene, would you start?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Serene. I live just outside of Seattle, Washington. And I think my sense is I'm getting a feeling of openness when we talk about compassion. It's like really be open to it.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sue Baust and then Judy. And I'm saying the next person so you can find your mute button in the process. It gives us a little heads up in this Zoom world. So
Okay.
Sue Baust.
My name is Sue Baust. I live in Southborough, Massachusetts. The word that came to mind was safety.
Safety.
Safe.
Beautiful. Thank you. Judy.
Hi, I'm Judy.
And then
Green.
Valerie. Mhm.
Oops. Oh,
Judy, go right ahead.
okay. I'm Judy Green. I live right outside of Philadelphia, and empathy is the word that comes to mind.
Beautiful. Thank you. Valerie and then Pat.
Yes, I'm Valerie. I live near Vancouver, Canada. And the word that I thought of is kindness.
Mm,
Compassion is kindness to myself.
kindness to myself. Beautiful. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Valerie and Pat. And then
I'm
Debbie.
Pat. I live in Sheridan, Wyoming, and I was thinking of the word thoughtfulness.
Thoughtfulness. Wow. Okay. Beautiful. Thank you, Pat, Debbie, and then Claudia.
My name is Debbie. I live in Vancouver, Washington. And my word was kindness, but as I'm listening to everybody else, the word just listening, really listening to somebody and myself.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you, Debbie. Claudia, and then Cindy Pfeiffer.
Unmute. Hi, I'm Claudia. I live northwest of Seattle, Washington, in a town called Port Townsend. It's on the peninsula here. I had thought of kindness, and then I thought, well, that's taken. I have to think of something else. And gentleness.
Gentleness. Beautiful. Thank you. Cindy and then Carrie.
I'm Cindy Pfeiffer. I live outside of Austin, Texas. And the word I wrote was kindness, and I figured I would not be the only one who came up with that
Beautiful.
word.
Beautiful. Thank you. Carrie and then Janice.
I'm Carrie. I am from, are you hearing me?
Totally perfectly.
Oh, sorry. It didn't look like you could hear me. I'm from Dallas, Texas, right outside of Dallas, Texas. And the word that came to mind was lovingness or love, the word love.
I kind of love the word lovingness.
Lovingness, yeah.
It like turns it into
softness.
Like, I don't know, something like I can like step into, you know? I don't know. That's beautiful. Thank you. Janice and then Rachel.
I'm Janice and I live in Colorado, and the word that came up first was kindness, but I think I want to say tending to.
Tending to. Beautiful. Thank you, Janice. Rachel and then Marty. Oh, Rachel, you're a little frozen. All right, Rachel, we'll come back to you. When you unfreeze, I'll probably just wave your hand.
Now?
Oh, now I can. There you go.
Okay. I'm Rachel. I'm from Salem, Massachusetts, and I thought of caring.
Caring.
Caring from myself and my body.
Beautiful. Thank you. Marty and then Emily.
Hi, I'm Marty. I live in San Antonio, Texas. The word that comes to mind for me is love.
Beautiful. Thank you. Emily and then Ina.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emily, and I am about an hour outside of Toronto, Ontario in Canada, and my word is patience.
Patience. All right. Thank you. Ina and then Trish.
My name's Ina Oya, and I'm in Albuquerque, New Mexico, although I did live in both Texas and Seattle. And the word that comes up for me is hope.
Hope. Wow. Thank you. Trish and then Lisa.
I'm Trish. I live in San Diego, California. And the word that came to my mind is heart-centered. So I just try to, everything I do tries to come from the heart.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Great. Lisa and then Judith.
Hi, I'm Lisa Davidson. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. And the word that came to my mind was ease.
Ease. Fantabuloso. Thank you. Judith and then Jen.
I'm Judith. I'm in England, in just north of London. And my thought is being with. Compassion is being with, being alongside.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Great. Jen and then Chris Morrow.
My name's Jen Cohen, and I am from Acton, Massachusetts, in the US of A. Maybe the closest person to you, Nina, of anybody that's talked so far, I think, physically. And the word that comes up in relationship to compassion was being with, same as Judith.
Mm-hmm.
And the word that comes up in relationship to this course is hope, which is the same as Ina, I think.
Beautiful.
I don't know who said hope. Maybe it was Ina. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. Chris and then Meredith.
Hi, everyone. I'm in New Jersey, just outside of New York City. And the word that came up for me was understanding.
Understanding. Fabulous. Thank you. Meredith and then Stacy.
Hi, everyone. My name's Meredith, and I live in Wellfleet on Cape Cod in Massachusetts. And what came up for me was without judgment. I also related to all the other words Erwin's used.
Yeah, so powerful. Fantastic. Stacy and then Linda, I don't know if you can, I know you're on your phone, and Paulina, I know you're also on no camera, and Colleen. So if you want to jump in, just, there's Paulina in person. And okay, so Stacy, you go ahead.
I'm Stacy Hetzel. I live in rural Virginia, about an hour outside of Washington, D.C. And I think my word is grace.
Wow. Okay, fantastic. Linda.
Hi, I'm Linda, and I live in Wallingford, Connecticut, which is mid-state, and my word is presence.
Presence. Jeez, such wisdom here. Okay, Paulina.
All my words have been taken, so I'm just going to repeat it.
Yeah.
So it's kindness, understanding, being present.
Beautiful. Thank you. All right, who am I missing here? Colleen? Hi, I'm Colleen. There she is. I'm at work, can't speak now. Holding space for. Thank you, Colleen. Holding space for. Fantastic. Oh my gosh. First of all, thank you all for being here. I am like completely just blown away by you and your presence and the wisdom that's here. And what I want to invite you to do in this moment is either close your eyes or leave them open gently, but I am going to read this list. And I want to invite you to notice what happens. These are just the words of this concept of compassion that we're stepping into. Just notice what happens when these words wash over you. There's nothing you need to do. Just be in a place of receiving in this moment. Openness, safety, empathy, kindness to self, thoughtfulness, listening, gentleness, lovingness, tending to, without judgment, grace, presence. Be sure to breathe somewhere in here. Caring for self and body, love, patience, hope, heart-centered, ease, being with, being alongside, hope, understanding, kindness, being present without judgment, grace, presence, being present, and holding space for. And just notice, what do you feel? What do you notice? What's there for you as you let those words, what comes up for you? Colleen says expansion. Yeah. Janice, my shoulders relaxed. I breathe. I'm calmer, easier. Yeah. Feels like a big hug. Chris, how I treat others. Oh my gosh. Anyone else treat everybody else that way? Right? We're so good at it for everyone else. Linda, a softening. Valerie, peace, calmness. Right? Meredith, an embrace for as long as I want. Ooh, I don't know why that brings tears to my eyes. Wow. Wow. Surrender into these words. Release. Similarities. Yeah. Right. Judith says, reminds me of a meditation I've done called Pebbles Sinks Down. Right. It's that like deepening, right? What's possible when we allow ourselves that surrendering into this possibility of deep, deep kindness for ourselves. So powerful. Claudia, broaden the definition. Compassion has always been for others, not myself. Right? This is about self-compassion. We're always experts at compassion for others. But self-compassion in the realm of food and body, whew, that can be uncharted territory for many of us who have grown up in a culture that has ideals around our bodies, around rules around food, right? Very powerful, very powerful. All right, so this is where we're going, right? This is just the first like door opening on how do we step into that compassion for ourselves in our relationship with food and body. Very, very powerful. All right, so I always want to go deeper into everything we're into, but I want to move into some specific curriculum for today. Before I talked about how we're going to look at the gap between what we know and what we do. And this gap is really important to examine because it's where a lot of the shame comes in. And the shame and the blame disrupts our authentic relationship with food and body. I want to say that again. The reason why it's so important, not just because shame and blame feels like crap, but it actually disrupts our authentic relationship with food and body. It's hard for us to listen to what our body needs, to what food works for us when we are in the pit of despair, right? That pit of shame, that ball of nastiness. Okay, so this is where this pit of shame is where a lot of the beating ourselves up happens, and it's where we get interrupted in listening to ourselves, in being able to hear what we authentically need. Okay. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at 3 major roadblocks that keep us in this shame and blame. Right? That shame and blame can show up in different ways. Like I shouldn't eat the cookies. I ate the cookies, right? I shouldn't, I should be thinner. I'm not thinner. My body should be changing because I've been eating this certain way, but it's not changing, right? So we're going to look at the 3 major roadblocks that keep us in that place of shame. And I really want to invite you into soaking up this concept that your food and body struggles are not your fault. Your food and body struggles are not your fault. We'll go way more into it, but if I could just sort of like float that in there to start breathing that in, like it's almost like new, different air. Because shame keeps us feeling bad about ourselves and keeps us treating ourselves very poorly. Okay. Self-compassion, on the other hand, has been proven as a healer for shame. And there's also incredible research published in the last 10, 15 years on how working with self-compassion, with loving kindness is more effective in supporting self-care habits than willpower, white knuckling, or calling ourselves mean names, right? So that's why we're focusing on self-compassion. It's much more powerful than shame and blame, right? So if what we're after is to feel good in our bodies, to be tending to our bodies in the way that we know we deserve, but we've been stuck in the big ball of nastiness and it doesn't let us out. And it's actually not effective for making the change we want. What is effective, right, is self-compassion. When we are kinder to ourselves, when we're tending to ourselves, when we're heart-centered, when we have gentleness, when we're being with ourselves, when there's a sense of safety. I'm looking at this list you just created, right? When we have all these things, we can then open the door more easily to doing the things that truly tend to ourselves, that care for ourselves. We're not in the struggle. We're not in the I should, but I don't, right? We're in a totally different paradigm. Okay. Okay, I want to say something about knowing, because I happen to know that I am in a group of women who know a lot and who have done a lot and who I always say could write their own freaking book on nutrition. Like what we have absorbed about what we should and shouldn't eat is a lot, right? We know, we've tried, we've done a million things. In fact, I'm kind of curious, how many years of dieting is in this group? Right? If you're up for it, right? How many years of dieting you've done? I know some people are not dieters historically. That's fine. But just in general, wow. Right.
Do you mean diet to lose weight or just like diets for health or well-being or?
All diets,
Okay.
anything that says this is the better thing to eat. This is what you should eat. Even if the intention is wellness, because our wellness industry is really steeped in there with diet culture. It's like stealthily sitting in there. It's kind of amazing because it's still a management model, right? It's still a management model. And we want to come from the compassion model. We want to come from the trusting model. We want to come from the peace model. Wow. Okay. We've got 30 years, 45 years, 42 years, 48 years, 25 years, 52 years, 40 years, 30 years, 45 years, 25 years, 52 years, 3 years, Sumos, 30 years, 50 years, ouch, 40 years, 55 years, 25 to 30, 25, 25, 48. Yeah. Okay. So what do you think what do you feel when you even just see that? What do you even feel? Wasted time. Yeah. Yeah, enough. Anger. Right, sure is a lot of managing. It's a freaking lot of managing. So much managing. So much control, tired. Oh my God, it's freaking exhausting. Sorry, I will stop with the freaking things, but it's just like, I try. Attempts to change, right? I just have to change. Jen says, don't stop. Thank you. That's very sweet, right? It's just, and the sadness in it, right? There is so much grief. There's so much anger. There's so much exhaustion in our attempt to be constantly managing our body, right? This is what we need to do. We've got to manage it, right? Now, there's a, sorry, when you see me do this like blank stare, it's because like I literally have brain jams where like 5 ideas are coming in my brain at once, and I'm trying to sort through what's the important thing. So one thing I want to say, one of the bonuses of this program is the Shifting into Body Love series. I have not sent it out because it's just a lot of information to get at once, but I will in the next, I think next week, send it out. But it really is just a video series, which you can take it in the time that you want over many days, watch them all at once. They're not very long, but it really speaks about the different relationships that we have with food and body. And one of these relationship realms is body management. And this body management is exhausting. It is enraging. It is a waste of our brilliant, capable selves. And there is another way to tend to care for yourself. That doesn't mean, oh my gosh, but what if I don't manage myself? Whoosh, it's all going to go to pot. Like I won't take care of myself at all. There'll be no, what am I going to do? Right? There is another way. We just have only been taught the management model. Right? There's all these other realms of relationship for us to explore. Okay, there is another way to be considerate to ourselves, to be understanding to ourselves, to really listen, right? To have that sense of honoring and respecting our specific body needs that doesn't look like restriction and management. Okay, so that was a little bit of a tangent. All right. So what I've seen is when people are in the pit of despair, the shame, the blame, the big ball of nastiness, there are 3 primary, there are others, but there are 3 primary aspects that are obstacles, the things that keep us there. Okay. I'm just going to name them here, and each week we're going to dive into one more specifically. Doesn't mean that we're going to not dive into other issues that come up for you. That's for the integration call. But the 3 issues, the big themes this week: blood sugar, right? Biology. What does your body need? Next week, nervous system, trauma, emotional eating, stress. 3rd week, relationship with self. In here, we're weeding out what's our wisdom, right? And what are the toxic messages we've internalized? What does it mean to own our own nutritional style, right? And what's guiding sort of the, diet message, okay? So today, that's where we're headed. Today, I want to just dive right into blood sugar. And I always go back and forth about where to start. Sorry, I just saw some comments that I didn't see before. Yeah, Trish, the hamster wheel. Yeah. Time to experience a different path. Thank you, Colleen. So I always debate where to start because I love diving into the deeper psychological and emotional aspects of our relationship with food and body. And when I talk about food, people tend to grip onto it as this is the answer, the one answer, and it's not. Okay, we have deeper issues to explore, but I do want to, for the next 15 minutes, put on my health coaching hat and talk about blood sugar, because it really puts a very clear spotlight on this is not about willpower. This is not about white knuckling. This experience of being out of control with food and choices is not your fault. So there is a whole science that I'm not going to get into today around deprivation. What happens when we feel deprived, and the natural instinct to right the ship, right? Oh my gosh, I haven't got enough in me. Whoosh, let me get more just in case, right? That pendulum. So right now, I just want to get us curious, exploring. There's no right or wrong, but what we're going to explore in an interesting way is blood sugar levels. So what we're doing here is exploring eating rhythms, okay? And we're going to look for the places in your day that are saying, hey, over here, I need a boost. Because if we're always fighting ourselves, it's always going to be a fight, right? So we want to be in that place of deep listening, right? That deep being with, being present. So if we wait until our tank is empty, we're going to need to pull into the closest gas station, right? We don't get to choose our favorite gas station. We don't get to choose if it's self-serve or full serve, right? Oh my God, tank's empty. This is the gas station that's there. I'm going to that gas station. So I want to explore how can we be more at choice? So I'm going to ask you some questions and I'd like you to write down the answer. Don't think about it too hard, okay? There's no right answer here. Don't get too, and everybody, and I know that every day is different for everybody with eating. So just do what feels right in the moment. So paper and pen, if that works for you. I'm going to ask some questions and then see what comes up. What are the times of day you do most of your eating? What are the times of the day you do most of your eating? What time do you tend to eat breakfast? What time do you tend to eat breakfast? Right? No right, no wrong. What time do you tend to eat lunch? What time do you tend to eat lunch? And what time do you tend to eat dinner? And what time do you tend to eat snacks? When do you tend to have a snack in the day? And when are you hungriest in the day? When are you hungry in the day? And when do you enjoy eating in the day? When do you enjoy eating in the day? When do you most often feel frustrated by your unwanted eating habits? When do you most often feel frustrated by your unwanted eating habits? And then what's the biggest gap in your eating schedule, right? Is there any part of the day that looks like your tank is empty? When you look at your schedule, what's the biggest gap there? And when you look at that, when you look at your day and you think about like a tank of gas being consistently at a good level, is there any part of the day where your tank is looking a little empty? What would help you keep your blood sugar stable at that time? Right? If you need ideas around this, I have 500, but I also know that a lot of you have a lot of wisdom around what would work, and we can get into that in a minute. We can get into it on Thursday. And then what else? What else do you notice about your eating rhythms? When you just look, you just did a little peruse, 5-minute peruse of your eating rhythms. What do you notice? And then what do you feel? What do you notice and what do you feel as you just explore What do you feel? What comes up for you as you just explore? This is sort of how I eat in a day. Giving your attention to eating rhythms, not what you're eating, but when you're eating. Because the when has a lot to do with sense of enoughness. It has a lot to do with bringing that blood sugar stable. And then my question to you is, what is one small action you want to take to keep your blood sugar stable? What's one small action that you want to do to keep your blood sugar stable? All right, so what are you noticing? Either in the chat or unmute yourself. What are you noticing? What are the ahas? What do you see? And if I don't, can someone remind me? I want to talk about healthy full fridge before we end. Anything?
I can go if you
Yeah,
like.
go ahead.
I noticed that oftentimes I don't eat much during the middle of the day, and that I tend to eat more at dinner. But then you asked that question about when do I enjoy eating, which was interesting. But I realized I enjoy eating at dinner, but I think it's because I'm with people. And I realize when I'm alone, I don't really want to eat, or I think there might be something in there about when I'm alone eating, that's shameful eating. That's when I would sneak stuff. That's when I would have things I wasn't supposed to have, that kind of thing. But I'm like, really, I could almost go all day without really enjoying what I'm eating. And then we sit down and have dinner and I can enjoy my family. I enjoy everything around me, kind of a thing.
So there's more things in your environment there that nourish you. And there's permission for you to nourish yourself. Oh, this is what we do here. We nourish ourselves. We eat. We enjoy our food. There is nothing shameful about this. Absolutely. So powerful. And it begs the question, Serene, of like, how do you bring some of that nourishment to yourself during the day? How do you bring some of that permission to be in pleasure by yourself?
Right.
Very cool. Okay, hold on. Let me get to some of these comments. So Judith says, I'd like to have a mid-morning and mid-afternoon snack and plan in advance what I'm going to have. Those snacks. And I'll tell you, when I was healing my blood sugar, because I was like the chronic dieter, and my blood sugars went with it. And I kind of wrecked my blood sugar stability for a bunch of years. I needed more snacks. I needed more snacks, both to help my blood sugar just get stabilized and also to tell me that I wasn't going to be deprived. There would not be this time of like, I'm so hungry, right? So to add those snacks, I'm curious what will happen, Judith. Rachel says, I noticed that I eat the most during the late afternoon and evening. It's also the time when I do most of my unwanted eating. Okay, so Rachel, I want to invite you to front load your day a little more. Experiment, right? This is an eating rhythm experiment. When we don't eat, there's more that happens later traditionally. So hold on, I gotta find you. Where are you, Rachel?
I'm here.
There you are. Okay, sorry, I couldn't find you there for a second. All right, does that make sense? Can you front load a little?
Yes.
Okay, and
Yeah,
just get curious.
I agree with Serena. I tend to not eat that much during the day because I'm more busy, and then all of a sudden late afternoon and dinner time and into the evening, I feel like all I want to do is eat. So.
Yes, and our body's going to do that. It's going to compensate, right? It's going to, so just an experiment, eating rhythms, okay?
Okay.
And stay in touch with it. Let's notice what happens. Claudia, I'll come back to what you said. And Colleen, interesting. I'm the opposite. I don't like eating in front of people, regardless of who they are. I'm most hungry at lunch, but there's not a lot of time. I feel hurried. So Colleen, that's right. It's so hard, right? I don't have time, but this is when I really want to do my eating. So this concept of really trusting ourselves and being compassionate eating, it doesn't mean always I only eat when I'm hungry and I don't eat when I'm full. It's sometimes, oh gosh, I'm not going to get to eat what I need at lunch. I'm not going to get enough. So I'm going to have to front load a little, or I'm going to need a snack for when I leave work. Right. So my invitation to you, Colleen, is get in there and get curious. How can you support yourself a little more for more nutrition during the day? Carrie says, I'm eating 5 to 6 times daily. I feel a dip if I wait longer than 3 hours. So no gaps, right? You're already working with your blood sugar. I know, right? Carrie, you're like, I know, this is what I need. Janice, I eat an earlier dinner, maybe need to eat later to help eating by the light of the moon. Okay, Janice, let's come back to night eating in a second. Chris, thank you. Sue says, I enjoy breakfast and lunch the most. Dinner, I just do, right? So these are the places I enjoy, and dinner, it's like, okay, dinner time. Okay, I want to come back to, hold on, let me write it down. So Claudia, you said not enjoying. And and Janice, late night. Okay. I want to come back to those in a minute. Trish, when I eat earlier, I feel like I'm hungry all day. All I can think of is what the heck will I eat when I have nothing cooked, prepped. Also around 3 p.m. I want a snack. Okay. All right. Trish, I really, if you can, come to the healthy full fridge thing, because it's going to help. And I'll talk more about that in a second. Valerie says, my husband is home. We do not eat lunch, but rather just have a snack around 2. If I have a sugary snack, then it's hard to be hungry for dinner, right? So Valerie, it's like, what works for you? Like that works for my husband, but does it work for you? Right? What really is helpful? Marty says, I don't really know what I need. I seem to feel better when I plan in advance and don't leave meals to chance, right? So part of it is in that place, this is so important. What do I need? I don't know what I need. So when we don't know what we need, it's really important to just have food there so that we know we're taken care of. So it's not this like, oh my gosh, I'm being left to the wolves. Who's going to feed me? Right? So again, that's why we do the healthy full fridge. Okay, couple things I want to circle back to. So Trish and Marty about the healthy full fridge. I want to mention it on Saturday, and I will send out information. We're going to cook together. If you can make it, great. If you can't, watch the recording. If this is not your thing to cook together, you don't have to show up. It's not rocket science recipes at all. These are basic recipes. These are like, get sweet potatoes in the oven. Let's make a simple soup. Let's make a pot of rice. These are foods that are building blocks for you for the week. They're enough basics. Judith says, I loved it last time. Yes. Thank you for recommending it. I cannot recommend it enough. It is so powerful to spend 2 hours on the weekend together with other women. We do Zoom, but no video. It's just everybody in their kitchen. It's super fun. It is super fun. Pauline, thank you. Great. Thank you for the recommendation of Healthy Full Fridge. I will absolutely give you a shopping list so you have everything you need. And again, there's no perfection. It's not like I want to see perfect, like, I don't know, tartlets, or this is not the baking show, right? This is just you getting food in the fridge. So you open, and we'll be talking about a very like specific way that I think about food. And it's fun. It gets us into the fun of food, and it gets it so that you can open the fridge and ta-da, there are a lot of choices. And so my blood sugar can be very stable because I have food available to me. And to speak to Marty's point, I don't have to be in this place of what am I going to, like, I don't know what I want. Because then when you're standing in front of a fridge full of food, you're like, well, I don't know. Do I want the rice? Do I want the veggie soup? It lets us be in a flexible, like an inquiry place. Trish says, I ordered food online. Yes, I can get the shopping list out to you today. Judith, you got to go. Thank you. All right, couple of things I want to come back to. Claudia, Janice, night eating. So Janice, if you're a night eater, I want you to tend to your blood sugar then. Like I want you to do breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, whatever, even if it feels like, oh my God, I'm eating extra. Bye, Serene, thank you. And bye, Sue. And I try really hard to stay in an hour, but sometimes it happens. And we can get into all of these intricacies more on Thursday, for sure. That's what it's for. But I want to just address these issues right here because they came up. I want you to snack, Janice, at night. Something nice and proteiny and fatty, like whether it's a piece of chicken and an avocado, or smoked salmon and avocado, or some nuts, something fat, protein at night. And I want you to give it to you, even if you're like, oh my God, I ate this and I ate this and I ate this and I ate this and I don't deserve anymore, or I shouldn't eat anymore, right? Part of this healing is telling our bodies it's okay, there's enough for you, so that it doesn't have to go like grabbing for it. And there's all different kinds of enough, and we're going to get to those different enoughs. But for this week, we're just talking blood sugar enough. Let's see what happens. Right? There are other issues with nighttime eating, and we can unpack those, but just for that. Rachel, thank you. Claudia, no pleasure with eating. Here's my invitation to you. I want you to just be in the sensation of it. What does this taste like? Just forget pleasure for right now. Just be in the, what is this crunchy? Jen, thank you. Is this crunchy? Is this sweet? Is this sour? Do I think it's tasty? Do I hate it? Just be in curiosity. Pleasure may be way out there, but it is out there, promise, okay? First step, curiosity. What's the experience like? And see if you can stay with the experience. See how long, maybe 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, okay? All right. Thank you so much. We covered a lot today. Again, recordings will always be on Facebook. They will be on a special recordings page that's not on Facebook. Our next call is on Thursday. We have Healthy Full Fridge on Saturday. I will send you information. If you can't be at the integration calls, send me an email, post your question on Facebook. Let me know what you're stewing with, and we can explore it even if you're not totally there. All right. If you want, you can unmute yourself. We can have a loud, fabulous goodbye. And thank you so much for jumping in. It's totally my privilege to be here with you. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.